of their choice.
Okay, folks, so I'm going to tell you about my one and only jury trial, keeping in mind that I've been a lawyer here in Orlando for 30 years. We're going to go back 29 years, 1982. Can you imagine that far back? I've been a lawyer for 1 year at that point in time, and I had a young client. His name was Danny. Danny was a very nice, well-behaved, clean-cut young man. Okay? This is my one and only jury trial. Keep in mind there's 6 jurors at this thing. And the other side, the plaintiff, Danny was a defendant. The other side was a plaintiff. He was an older man. I'm going to call him Willard. Willard was a bit of a curmudgeon. Danny lived in a trailer park. Willard was the park manager. Danny, very nice young man. His afternoons, he would like to go into his front yard and tend to his rose garden. All right. Willard is the park manager. Willard would come around in his golf cart and stop in front of Danny and be angry and upset with Danny, my young client, and say, "Stop wasting water on those roses." And this would happen, day after day. And one day Danny had had enough. He took the water hose and he sprayed down Willard, the park manager, and case on, folks. Willard goes and hires another young lawyer, relatively inexperienced, but I remember he came from a pretty big firm back in those days, and they file a lawsuit against Danny, and they demand a jury trial. Danny comes and hires me. Folks, I've been a lawyer for about 1 year at this point in time. I think my fee to Danny to defend him in this civil action was $150. So we presented the facts to the jury, and folks, the facts were undisputed, just as I told you. It's exactly the way it happened, no different. And so we presented the facts to the jury, and the jury went out to deliberate. And as you can imagine, in a jury trial, first of all, there was no Perry Mason moment where everybody goes, "Aha, that's who did it," or "That's what happened. Ah, this case is very clear." There's nothing like that happening. So the jury goes out to deliberate, and the lawyers are in the room with our clients, and we're waiting, and we're very anxious and excited about the result, what might happen. And the door opens to the jury room, and the jury does not come out. The foreman comes out. He has a piece of paper in his hand. He hands a piece of paper to the judge. We're all waiting, very excited. The judge starts reading a note, and the judge starts smiling. He's got a big smile on his face, the judge. And he looks at the lawyers and he goes, "The jury has sent me a note, and the jury wants to know who pays for the water that Danny uses to water the roses." And I looked at the other lawyer and he looked at me, and neither one of us had any clue. This is all about wasting water, and in all the preparation and the depositions and the discovery over water and wasting water on roses, we had never asked who pays the water bill.
And that would be a great question.
That would be, I would think it would be relevant, yes. Quite insightful of the jury. Maybe they should be lawyers. And so the judge sent a note back to the jury and did the appropriate thing and said, "Hey, you've heard the evidence. We cannot present any more evidence to you. You have to make a decision based on what you've heard today." And so the story, the jurors went back, or they're still there, and they deliberate some more, and then they come out and they give us their verdict in this jury trial. And the verdict was, they found in favor of Willard, the plaintiff, the park manager, in the sum of $200. $100 was for actual damages. I guess that might be cleaning his wet clothes. And $100 in punitive damages. So my client, Danny, got off with $200, and I got some great experience, and that was my one and only jury trial.
Do you think, Tom, that if you had presented to the jury the question that they asked about who was responsible for paying the water bill, that the outcome would have been different?
I think it would have been, so that if we had presented to the jury that Danny, my client, paid the water bill, I don't think there would have been an award against him. If we found out that the park was responsible for paying the water bill, then the award might very well have been greater.
I agree. I think you're right. I think that the outcome would have been different if that information, that evidence would have been presented to the jury.
Yes. So, you know, and I like to, when I tell that story, I like to say that no clients were harmed in the making of the story. So
Yes.
everybody was satisfied, and I look forward to sometimes seeing Bill again. Bill was a lawyer on the other side, and talking to him about getting his take on that case. I'm sure he remembers it. He was a young lawyer too.
Well, and my